Hi, welcome, welcome. I am waiting for my other sis to join. I believe she's already on here. All right, let's see this. Nope, that's not it. Okay, I sent you an invitation, Dominique. I'm not sure if you saw it. If anything, just request to join again. But I did send you an invitation. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. If you have any question for us, you're going to see the little question symbol. You could type your question there so we don't miss it. Yeah, hi, welcome. Happy Sunday. She's unable to join. Let me try again. Okay, accept. There you go. Hi, good morning, depending where you are. Good afternoon. Thanks. Oh, there you go. We are here. Happy Sunday, everyone. Can you hear me, Dominique? Okay, perfect.
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit like why we're doing this, and I'm going to let Dominic introduce herself, and then vice versa. And then if you have any questions, you see the question mark little icon on your right. Just make sure you tap your questions there so we don't miss it. All right. So Dominic, tell the people who you are.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Dominique Drake Ford. If you need the whole government, Chanel is the middle name. I'm from Oakland, from the Bay Area, and I reside in Brooklyn, New York. I am a creative content storyteller, a non-traditional educator, focused and honing in on sustainability and sustainable justice, sustainable living. And I'm a new mom. I have a 9-month-old by the name of Sage. And Sage, having a home birth and having a beautiful birth to Sage is an extension of my sustainability work and my sustainability ethos. And I'm excited to share with y'all all about my experiences giving birth in my bedroom.
Yeah. And how we decide to do this.
and why we decided to do this and sort of the intricacies of all of that. So
awesome.
That's a little bit about me.
Yeah. So for those who don't know me, we're connected from Dominic's side. My name is Simone. I'm a personal trainer. I'm originally from Cameroon. I moved to the US when I was like 15 going on 16. And I lived basically my entire, I guess, half of my life in New York until I moved to California in the middle of the pandemic. So I've been in California since a little bit more than a year now. And I'm currently pregnant. I am 31 weeks and 1 day. And I am a personal trainer. I train everyone, including pregnant women, including somebody who just got out of an accident and need to rehabilitate, or any able, or I train everybody. You know, I'm a safe place. I just don't train like super athletes. So I train like, you know, people like me, anybody who wants to just go from point A to point B in terms of their strength. So that's what I do. So I'm here in California, I'm doing the same thing. And yeah, getting ready to give birth. And one of the reasons I wanted Dominic to do this with me, because when I finally decided that I was going to do this, the clinic that I saw, I saw that she was following them. So I reached out to her to see if she had used them. And then, you know, that's how we got to connect. And here we are. So thanks for joining us. But yeah, so yeah, exactly. I'm always a safe place. You know, you come to me as you are, I meet you where you are, no judgment. It's all about basically being I don't know, I'm going to be the best that I could be for you, right? Because if you don't feel safe with me, then why are you giving me your money?
That part, that entire part.
Yeah. So let's do this. So so Dominic already gave birth, let's just say about 9 months ago, and I'm currently pregnant, giving birth at about 8 weeks, right?
Congratulations.
And thank you. So just like her also, we both started with the hospital route, and then we changed along the way, right? So Dominic, I'm gonna let you go first, and then you're gonna tell the people why you started with the hospital, and then along the way you change.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, in all actuality, I've always wanted to do a home birth, but my experiences in the hospital solidified the fact that I needed to make a transition from hospital care to home birth,
Mm-hmm.
midwifery, maternity care. So, I mean, I would say I don't have the exact amount of time, but I'd say I was doing hospital care for about 2 months, 3 months maybe before I transitioned. And I literally felt like a number, right? I already don't like hospitals. I don't like the sterileness of the hospital. I don't like the energy of traditional hospitals. But I decided to give it a try because my insurance was covered by,
Yes.
my insurance covered it. So I'm like, why not give it a try? But I felt like a number. I felt like the attention and the bedside manners that was given to me as a first-time mom, and then I'm already a little anxious as a Black mom in a hospital space. And so I didn't feel like my questions were answered thoroughly, with love and with tender care. And I just felt, especially during COVID, I mean, it wasn't 2020 COVID, it was 2021 COVID. So a little less anxiety inducing than giving birth during 2020. But still, I felt like there was just not enough care and attention and details given to me during my sessions.
Okay.
And you can feel the energy.
Yeah.
When you feel the energy a little differently when you are connected to your womb in that way.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was simple as that. It just didn't feel good.
Exactly. I mean, it's similar to me too. Initially, I kind of had it always also in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it. And then the first midwife that I contacted, she was busy. She was already booked for the month of May, right? You know, midwife, they don't take many clients at a time. You see, unfortunately, I already have the person I'm taking care of for May. So I just kind of like let it go. And like, again, I saw her OB and I said, okay, my insurance covers it. Well, I mean, they cover part of it. So why not? It's not too far. Let me go and see how it is. Because I went to her first for like, my pap smear and all that kind of stuff, right? So one thing I realized during the process of going to the OB, because I'm used to taking care of people, right? People come to me during that 1 hour and I care for them emotionally and we work out. And I'm used to having people pour, right? And I'm used to and I don't mind that. I love that people feel safe with me and they can open up to me and talk to me and feel so much better in an hour, by the time they leave. So I didn't really know how much I needed this until I got pregnant. So I go to see my OB. I mean, this is my first pregnancy. So I didn't quite know. I mean, I've heard little things left and right, but I didn't quite know what to expect. So, but I'm going there, I guess, thinking that I'm going to be careful, loved, and supported, and all that kind of stuff. So the first few, I stayed with her from like, we're going to say I got pregnant in September. So from September until January, right? And I kept going there. So it started okay. Like you kind of give the benefit of the doubt. You say, no, I understand. There's a hospital, et cetera, et cetera. And so what really made me change, because like, first we'll go there. You have to wait like a whole hour before you see your OB, right? Okay, fine.
Right.
And then when you get to see your OB, it's like it's like a 10, 15 minutes. So you feel rushed, right? Or when you ask questions, they're not really answered. It's more like, oh, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So I'm like, by the time we were getting to January, I'm like, okay, why am I even here? Because we're not really doing much. She just take up a Doppler, listen to the heart rate, and then 5 minutes, how you feeling? Okay. And then just like 5, 10 minutes, it just kind of get to the point where I'm like, do I really need to be here, honestly? Because already have a baby Doppler, because it's just like making me feel like I wasn't cared for, And then like January, basically the last 2 appointments, just made me feel like, you know what? I can't do this. I really can't. I can't come here, wait for an hour and feel like I'm being rushed because you have another patient. I mean, I understand, but I just kind of felt like, you know what? This is not for me. Like I really
I did not understand.
Yeah,
you said you got no, I did not.
Because I'm very empathetic, So I try to understand, like, I know she's not a therapist. I know maybe the insurance is making them only see you for 5, 10 minutes. So I try to like almost like make excuses for that. But then I realize it's taking a toll on me, and I don't want to go in this pregnancy all stressed out, because people don't know this about me, but I could be paranoid. I think only Oliver sees that side of me. But I could go from like, And then like my mind just like,
Right. Yeah.
oh, okay, how
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
And I say the last thing I need to do is go in this pregnancy feeling like that with my child.
Right.
And then I just decided like, you know what? We're gonna switch gears. And
Right.
another thing also, I was afraid that because I was already kind of like a little bit further along, it would be hard for me to find a midwife. But after speaking to other people and speaking to like, different people, they told me like, Simone, it's never too late to change care because you almost kind of feel guilty. Like, how am I gonna like break up with my OB right now? Let them know that I'm leaving, because it's an
Yeah.
awkward conversation.
Yeah.
But I put on my big girl's pants, send that email,
Hey, I know
and
that's
here we
right.
are.
I forgot to add two very important points. Um, in addition to just my personal feelings and care, my partner Tim wasn't allowed in the appointments, so that was another huge thing for me. I forgot. So it's like I'm seeing my baby for the first time without my partner, whereas in from what I understand, most midwifery cares you're able to have both partners there. The stipulations are less strict because of COVID with regards to your partner being there to support you during regular checkups.
Hmm.
And then, secondly, I have a terrible needle phobia. And I had no idea that you would have to get so much blood drawn. And so the care that I received in traditional hospital was an indicator of, okay, I need somebody who's going to take a little bit more care and be sensitive to my needs, not knowing that I had to have a lot of needle interaction during pregnancy.
Exactly.
So those two were big for me as well before I made the transition. But yeah, girl, about breaking up with the doctor, it's all good.
Yeah, it could.
I'm glad
Yeah, it
you
could
put your
be.
nerves aside.
It could be a little scary, It could be a little scary because few times that I will ask question about if they ever work with a midwife and stuff like that, you could just tell the answer was just a little bit cold. Like one thing that my OB said was like, you know what? Well, if you give birth at home or at a center, there's more risk for everyone involved, right? And just like the way I heard it, to me, it's kind of like I'm a black woman. There's more risk involved anywhere I go.
Yes, that
Like,
part.
yeah, the hospital
That
is supposed
part.
to be the best for, so how come my client is dying more than
Yeah.
anything else? It's like, why is that? So my first thing was I just kind of like be brave enough to decide that this is not working for me and this is what I'm going to do. Guys, please, if
Right.
you have a question, don't forget to write them down so we don't miss it. And that's how I went about choosing to go from the hospital to midwifery care, and I'm so happy about it. And the reason why we are doing this live is to kind of make sure people know that there's this option out there, right? There's this option, and if you want to choose this option, you could totally choose it. It doesn't matter if you talk with an OB or not, you could totally choose it. So, how did you go about interviewing your midwife, and what made you decide to stay with her? And yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in full transparency, the midwife that I went with was not my first choice.
Mhm.
Actually, there were two midwiferys that I wanted before the one that I chose. But for my birth, for the time that Sage was supposed to be born, folks were just booked up. Um, Folks were booked up. Folks were had transitioned out of midwifery care because I went through a lot of referrals and recommendations prior to. Um, and uh, it's a challenging process to interview a midwife, especially if you don't have the expertise in natural or home birthing, vaginal birthing care. Like that world, there's not a boilerplate list of questions that, or there is, but it's hard to find to sort of curate an interview for something like this.
Mhm.
So a lot of what I asked was focused on financials
Mhm.
because for a lot of folks, you have to pay out of pocket. A lot of folks' insurance does not cover this, although there are outside resources that can help supplement it, which is great. So cost was number one. Well, not number one, but cost was on the list. Level of experience was on the list, and being able to, like, how you handle fluctuating situations, and the relationship you have with the nearest hospital, because in the case of an emergency,
Yes.
the hospital that your midwifery is connected to, you're going to have to, they should have a relationship with that specific hospital in the event that something were to go wrong, or things were to shift. So the hospital connection, I was really interested in their style of care. I think it's important for folks to know that I had a midwife and a doula, right? Some folks need a midwife who's more militant. Some folks need a midwife who's more nurturing. Some folks need a midwife who is able to be on call for pre-labor. So that means they don't have as many clients. Like, there's a lot of variables in the temperament of the midwife that you have, coupled with the temperament and the energy exchange from the doula that you'll have. Other questions was just basic, like, knowledge. I just want to know your knowledge, your experience, your expertise. I want you to do a home visit and meet my birthing squad. Your midwife should know the people who are going to be there, like your closest unit, because it's a team. It's a collaborative team effort. It's probably one of the biggest collaborations you're ever going to do in life.
Right.
And so that was important. And yeah, I think we'll go from there. I think those were sort of the biggest issues or the biggest questions that I had with my midwife in the very beginning. At least preliminary interviews.
Okay, that makes sense. Let me see. There's one question here. No. Okay.
Question?
No, I think no. It was just another question. So for me, when the main thing I looked, I'm a little lucky. My insurance said it will cover part of it, so we called the insurance first. They say they would treat it as in out of what is that? Out of, when you go
pocket?
Not out of pocket, like when you got out of like network, something like that, right? They said they would they will cover a part of it, but kind of like treat it as out of network when you go see a doctor.
Oh, okay, right?
Yeah. So I said, okay, good. So when I finally saw the center that I was thinking about using, first what they do, they have a group interview. So I did the first group interview, and after the group interview, if you are still interested, you like what you heard, then you schedule a one-on-one with one of their head midwives. So that's what I did. So I did a group interview with one of their main doulas, and it was only like, I got lucky also, it was only like maybe I think 3 of us in the chat, and so I got to kind of have a little bit more attention than that I thought I was going to have. So I got to listen to her, listen to like what she was saying, and then I liked it. And then because my thing is energy. I realized that I want that auntie. Like you have your mommy love, but you also have your auntie love. Like I wanted that, So so I liked the group interview. She answered my questions, and then I decided to do a one-on-one interview, right? So we did a one-on-one interview with the midwife. Her name is Kimberly, and to my surprise, it was just so, even just like her whole energy. It was just so warm and welcome. And also, Oliver was kind of like on the side. He wasn't really into the video. And I also liked the fact that she insisted on him coming, because he was just kind of like there to listen. And insisted that he comes in so she could, he could see her. And if he has questions, she could answer. So I kind of like that she brought him in. And it was just so like, I think the first interview, I kind of knew the cost already. But I wasn't really, my thing was kind of like, hospital is expensive anyway. So I was going to have to pay that anyway. So I wasn't too focused on the cost, because I'm like, okay, this is my first child, and if they're gonna give me what I need, we're gonna figure out a coin situation after that. So So I spoke to her. It was supposed to be a 30-minute interview, but she stayed with us for a whole, I think a little more than an hour. And she explained everything. We had questions, and then she answered them. I just kind of felt the warmth. She said, like, listen, I have 2 options. I could come to you, or I could you could give birth at the center. And she said the first few visits are going to be at the center, and eventually I will have to come to your house, so I know your surrounding. I know where the parkings are. I know how the traffic it is. Like, basically, she also told me so much. I didn't even have to ask questions to begin with, because she told me everything. And then one thing that she also told me her story. I think she had at least like 3 or 4 kids. She told me her first kid, she had it through a cesarean. And there's always this notion that if you have your first kid through cesarean, the rest are going to be the same thing. To my surprise, she said no, her first kid was cesarean, and then all her other 3 kids were home birth. And I just kind of like, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. So not only she went through the whole process herself, but so she knows it as in the practitioner and also as the receiver of receiver of that kind of like practice. So I was really, really happy with her. Honestly, she was just so full of love. And I just kind of, I don't even know how to put that in words, because I realized I didn't want somebody militant. I want someone who knows what they're doing, has a lot of experience, but also who's gonna like shower me and hold my hand. Dominic, I did not know I needed that until I got pregnant. And also because like right now it's just all over at night here in California. All our close friends, all our family, everyone is in New York. So I'm not getting the pampering that I would have gotten if I was in New York and all that kind of stuff.
The irony is that there are so many more home birth and birthing centers in LA. The irony, it's like your family and your close ones are out here, but in terms of midwifery and potential doula care, it's 10 times more options in LA from the research that I've done. Like, I was almost considering going to LA just to give birth because there were so many more options that felt like home.
I saw like crazy. Honestly, it's such it's so amazing to receive that love and that care from somebody who looks like you, who understands you. And then the fact that she said the appointments were going to be between 45 minutes to 1 hour. And so far, they've always been at least an hour, if not more, you know? And so now the difference between even my first visit compared to my visit at the hospital with the OB, right? So, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like, yes, I think I know we made the right decision. And another thing also, first, like you say, the hospital they work with is about 15 minutes away, right? So the hospital is not going anywhere. If I need to go to the hospital, they know how to transfer. Because one question you want to ask also when you do your interview for a midwife or do like my little experience is to also kind of understand how they deal with tragedy or how they deal with something in case of emergency. Right? You want to make sure, like, you know, your doula or your midwife knows, okay, this one, now I got to transfer you, right? She knows when to transfer you. They know they know when to transfer you, and they have a good relationship with the hospital. So the hospital they work with, they understand, okay, this person came from this kind of care, so we have to continue as much as we can, you know, stuff like that. So I really like the fact that the hospital is not far, right? 15 minutes, I think, and they have a good relationship with them. So if I need to be transferred, I'm going to get transferred. So that's one thing. If you think about giving birth at home at the center, the hospital is there. It's not going anywhere. Because
the transfer is so important.
Yeah, because your OB might make you feel like, oh, if you give birth at home, it's kind of like the hospital option is gone. No, the hospital is never gone. It's always going to be there, right? So all the appointments, like I say, are about they're at least 1 hour, and then so every time I will go, even the first time, they literally, it's like almost like 30 minutes to go into detail about everything about you, from the way you sleep, from your way you handle stress, from what you ate last night, this morning, and all that kind of stuff. And then my husband does a lot of research. So he came there with like knowing a lot of stuff more than me, because honestly, the two of us is more prepared. All I do is just carry this child. So he did a whole bunch. He did a bunch of research and had questions to the point where the midwife was like, "Wait, do you want to be a midwife?" So, but the fact that, like, you know, she gave us the space to ask all the questions that we ask. And one thing, when I go to another professional, right? Don't worry about what I do for a living. Don't say, oh, you're a trainer, so you must eat well. Oh, you look this size. You must be like, I don't want to do that. I don't do anything. That's why I'm here, right? I'm here for you to kind of break it down and tell me what I need to do, when I need to do it, etc. Right? Don't think about, because I'm a trainer, I don't have to eat my vegetables. Maybe I forgot. Maybe, I don't know, I haven't practiced what I'm preaching in a little while. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. So I like the fact that each time they will break it down like that for me. And then the part where now we're going to check on your belly, check on the baby, and tell you the position. And I really like the fact that they are hands-on. They ask you permission first. their hands on, and they tell you, okay, your baby's over here, etc., etc. So I just really love that I wasn't rushed. Literally any kind of question. If I'm asking her a question about the delivery date, she would answer it, which I didn't have before, because I would ask her a question and then my OB would be like, "Oh, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Just answer my question.
No, answer the
Just answer
question.
my question." Obviously,
Yeah,
if I'm asking you now because I want to know, give me something, you know.
yeah. I
Um,
would go into my appointments with a list, a laundry list of questions. And similar to you, although I would say that my midwife was a little bit more on the militant side, which I didn't know I needed at the time. I got the auntie nurturing love from my doula,
got you.
and the more militant with extensive background, a little bit of Western medicine mixed with holistic medicine vibe from my midwife, which is actually what I needed and was comforting. When we talk about labor, it was comforting because I had to go through a couple of hoops where
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I chose you. But in terms of my appointments, I'm talking about there's fresh lime or lemon water when you walk in, something as simple as that. Like, let me quench your thirst when you come into your appointment before you have to pee on in the cups. Um, Answering all of my questions and then some. There was no rush. Having Tim able to hold the, what's it called, a
The
Doppler,
Doppler. Mm-hmm.
the Doppler, and it was just a different type of connection. And even when I had to get blood drawn, making sure that I had like 10 minutes to meditate before getting my blood drawn,
Mm-hmm.
having a bandana over my face and headphones on so that I can get in a relaxed mode because
Mm-hmm.
they understood that I had a phobia. It's just those little things that those attention to detail and care, which was really important, and we can't take that for granted during
No,
the whole pregnancy
no, you
process.
cannot. You
Like, it's
cannot.
so important, and I'm just like you. I believe that I don't want to transfer any of that unnecessary stress to my womb throughout this process.
No, no.
So, so trying to have really healthy relationships throughout the entire ebb and flow of pregnancy was super important to me, and I got that during my
Amazing.
midwife and doula care.
Amazing. And honestly, I know like another thing that I gather from midwifery care is like I know that like, giving birth is not like skipping to the gym or skipping to the park or skipping to your favorite restaurant. I know it's going to take a lot of effort on you, right? But I also like the fact that I was educated on birth, because how many of us have been educated on birth, right? We don't really know. We just know if you have wombs, you're supposed to get pregnant, push it out, and then that's it, right? Nobody educates you on like on like kind of like even the things you're supposed to do before you're pregnant, during your pregnancy, and after your pregnancy, and like also understanding like, okay, pregnancy is not just on your physical, it's also very emotionally and mentally taxing, right? So
Yep.
the kind of like making sure you are good with that, making sure like, my center, they have like group classes for, birthing class, and they also have group therapy of like 3 to 4 people. So basically having all those things in place to let you know, like, listen, you are supposed to go there as zen as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And just basically holding your hand to the process. Like I said, my mom is still alive, my grandmother is still alive. I have a bunch of aunts who gave birth, but I've never been sat down and say, you know what, I want kids. And somebody tell me, okay, this is how it's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. But surprisingly enough, my mom, she have 8 of us. Guess what? All midwives. They would never,
Mm-hmm.
a doctor did not take me out. A doctor did not take any of my siblings out. They were all midwife, like, from a midwife. En français,
Mm-hmm.
sage-femme. So in my head, I'm like, so what happened? And this is where Oliver like has more education on it through the process. How do we go from like using midwives to like now making like the birth like it was as a procedure, like you're going there for like
Mm-hmm.
something so terrible instead of making something
Yeah.
like what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like scared, like making you seem like okay. And then I feel like now, even though hospital, the way they treat you, it's like almost like a C-section is also like a, oh yeah, just go cut it up and take the baby. I'm like, no, like,
Yeah.
do
It's
you know
become
how much,
super normalized.
yeah, do
Yeah.
you know how bad it is to cut you open unless they really have to take, the recovery is terrible. Really,
Yeah.
really, really terrible and very, very much taxing. So I like the fact that if I do need, I'm not going to say and sit here and say I'm not going to get a C-section, but if I do need it, yes. But I want to make
it's the last option.
exactly. I want to make sure I'm given all the options. I want to make sure that I'm given the tools to get to the point where I don't need it. Like I want to make sure.
Also,
Mhm.
no, you just reminded me. The tools that is necessary for you as the birthing person, but also the tools for the people in your team, right? And I
Exactly.
think it's just as critical for the folks who are going to be helping you bring the baby earthside to be aware of all of the things that are taking place. And especially once it's time to transfer to that hospital, if you have to transfer to a hospital, do an emergency transfer, your midwife and or doula should be able to should be able to convey that information to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to advocate for you as a birthing person, especially as a black
Yeah.
woman, they should be able to advocate on your behalf, and your team should be able to advocate on your behalf, which is just not the standard when we are rushed to the hospital, especially if we're being told we have to have an emergency C-section. Like there's hardly any time and there's hardly any knowledge space for us to advocate for ourselves in those predicaments.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
midwives and doulas are helpful for that as
Yeah.
well.
Because honestly, we want to sit here and advocate for yourself when you're in pain, in the most
Right.
vulnerable state ever. You know, like you're probably naked, and you know, and it's just like we want to like I want to make sure that
Going
I just
through
relax.
contractions.
Yeah.
Going through contractions, trying to think, oh my God, is the hospital taking advantage of me?
Exactly.
Like who?
You know, and then you live
awful.
there. You're full of trauma. It's so like I've heard some story that's just so traumatic. I'm like, okay, you know what? I cannot. I'm sorry. I hear you, but right now I cannot listen to the story right now because it's a lot. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
how did you even survive? How you here to this point? Because it just like, it's very terrible. And then nobody talks about like postpartum depression. They don't all of that. If you have a really traumatic experience, it could like prevent you from having kids. It could prevent you from connecting with your kid. It just from connecting with people around you. And then if people around you don't even understand what's going on, they're gonna just look at you as, how is she not connecting with her child? How is she like, just how they not connecting with their children? Like it just kind of like it's almost everyone is kind of blaming you, right? It's like yeah. And then also we know when the baby's here, people tend to stop caring for the mom. Everyone wants to just, oh, the baby. I'm like, but with this, for instance, like when the midwife talked to me, she also asked my partner, she asked Oliver, how is he doing? Right? And also kind of tell him, like, ask him how is he doing? The things like, he should be basically a whole thing, a whole education, not just like, okay, the baby heart rate is great. Okay, you're good. See you next time.
Yeah.
No, it's like, how am I feeling? How is he feeling? What to expect when I give birth? This, that, or third, like, just all those little things that I don't think nobody talk about. And it's only with the doula or the midwife that you could possibly get that kind of reassurance.
Education. Resources.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like I was really happy that they have like my care. They have little small group of therapy, because also during that time you get to meet one or two other moms who are going through the same thing. And then I think that's probably why like a lot of like group moms are very successful, because you get to read people's stories and stuff like that. But then imagine you in a group of like 2 or 3 moms, and then you have somebody who's trained to talk to people about birth and trauma and stuff like that, and just kind of like talk to them about how you're feeling. It's just to me, it's such a plus. When I think about in my country, when my aunts were giving birth, right? It was like a whole other village. It wasn't just like you and your husband, you and your partner. No, it wasn't just that. I remember all my uncle who got married, all their wives came to my grandmother's house, and that's where they give birth. And then it wasn't just like literally had a little village. And after you give birth, somebody would like help you take care of the kids, and you will also have somebody. I remember my aunts being fed. I mean, literally being fed.
Okay.
Like we have this traditional food where it's kind of like slimy to help you with like digestion. Literally, you would sit here, and then somebody would sometimes they will use a spoon, or they will use like almost like they may make something out of like a plantain leaves, and then they will feed you that, you know, and
That
it
is
just
so
it just
beautiful.
hit me like, wow.
But wait, you just brought up another deterrent of why I didn't want to be in the hospital. To my knowledge, I believe that if you're in a hospital, they still don't let you eat, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a reason for that.
And there's a reason for that. And I feel like just from so many videos that I've watched, that is such an archaic concept. And the thought of not having any level of nourishment while in labor, whether pre-labor or after labor, sounds fucking ridiculous.
Like, how does that
It
even make
sounds
any
insane.
sense? And then you know
It
why?
sounds insane.
I know this because all of it, all the research. The reason why is because they're prepping you for surgery. How am I going to have birth and you're prepping me for surgery? When we're supposed to have,
Exactly.
I have a birth canal, the kid is supposed to come out there. And it's not even because you are, I'm at high risk. No, they just prep you because it's easier for them and it's more money, right?
And more money. Every intervention, every time they stick you with a needle and give you fluids, every along the way, every intervention adds up to the money that you're gonna owe at the very end.
Exactly, exactly. It's like, why do you? I mean, you're about to do one of the hardest thing. I don't think there's anything harder than for a person with a womb to push a baby out. And you're trying to tell me I cannot eat?
Yeah.
No, it's because they're prepping you for surgery, you know?
Yeah.
And then people don't understand also, like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an OB. I'm not super versed and educated on this. For also look into why like a chain of adrenaline, as in you don't eat, they give you, before they give you epidural, they might give you something else, and that causes something else, and they give you something else. It's like, look into that, you know? I'm going to have Oliver talk about it, do a video, and kind of like explain everything that he knows.
Every intervention.
It's like, yeah, it's like this is almost like a domino effect. This causes this, it causes that, and then you just gotta keep going. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, I need to have a C-section. Like, wait, you were never supposed to have that to begin with, you know? Or another friend told me also, who's also in the medical field, she said, and the most C-section occur during change of shift, right? Because this doctor came and he's about to leave at 9 p.m. It's 8:30. And then if unfortunately for you, you came there a little bit too early, they say, well, you've been here for how many hours? Now you got to go. And I gotta get the credit for this baby. So you know what? We're gonna give you epidural and we're gonna cut you open. It's like that even actually just basically tell you, you know what, I think it's time. I think it's time to, like, you know, cut you out and take this baby out because I need to get a credit, you know? Stuff like that you don't even think about where you're sitting down there and in pain. But yeah, it's like, why are you cutting me open? Is because you need this credit before the next doctor come, so you could it's just so many stuff that when you hear that you just wonder, like, I
think about, it's like, I know for a fact, I said I know for a fact and then probably, but I'm almost certain that I would have had to get cut open if I was in a hospital. Just knowing that I was 2 weeks late, that Sage was around 9 pounds, and then being on a pinched nerve and just all the things that happened while, like, during my home birth, I'm almost certain it was pure recipe to be cut open.
Of course.
Like,
of
course. I had the perfect situation for forced intervention.
Of course. I'm not surprised. Somebody asked me, yeah, I'm planning. So I have the option for my midwife to come out of the house to give birth, but I decided to go to the center instead. The center is like an apartment also. But think of it, the apartment is kind of like a
suite.
A suite, like it's like a yoga spa. Like, you know, you go there, it's also like the colors, it's very calming, it's very relaxing. You know, they have a garden and each suite. So basically think of it as an apartment with like 2 big living rooms, a big kitchen, and they have, I think, 2 or 3 suites. In each suite, you have your big bed, not like a little tiny bed. You could be there alone. You have your big bed, you have your full bathroom, and you have your tub. So if you want to give birth in water, so they have that, you know. And and my center have up to 4 midwives, right? Okay. Another reason that also made me decide that I was going to switch, speaking of the 4 midwives. So baby come whenever they want to come. Like you say, you were 2 weeks late, right? Yeah. So your estimated might be this baby decide to come 2 weeks before or 2 weeks later. So I asked my OB, okay, so since baby come whenever they want to come, who else are you working with? Because this baby might come when you're not around.
Mm.
You might be flying, you might be on your way home, you might be stuck in traffic. Who else are you working with? So I get familiar with them. So when Dominic shows up, I don't tell myself, wait, who's Dr. Dominic? I've never heard of you, right?
Yeah.
She got so defensive and thought I was gonna start seeing those doctor, even if I wanted to. That's like, I could do that if I wanted to, but she was not really. She said, you know what? Oh, I know them. They're really, really good. I'm very anal about who I work with. I like them. And in my head, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you like them. I need to feel comfortable. And let me just kind of like, because you can look up a hospital and read about them. But if you're a private practice, I don't know who you work with. I need to kind of do that little bit of research to know who I'm going to be dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'm not confrontational. Like, I know if I feel like you're kind of like raising your voice and doing this, I just shut down.
Yeah.
This is me. I just shut down. And Oliver looked at me. He told her, this is not good. And she's like, oh, no, it's fine. It was like, I know my wife. This is not good. I'm like, just tell me where you work. Just give me names. And then so that I can kind of like go online, research, and see who they are, get familiar with their faces and stuff like that. So I didn't like the fact that I didn't get that easily. Right now with
pulling teeth.
Now with my midwife, I already know I have my midwife. I know she works with 3 other midwives. Guess what? I'm meeting every single one of them, because even her also, she might be stuck in traffic. The baby might decide to come today when she thought it was going to come tomorrow. But so
she could be giving birth, like
exactly.
She could be working with another client.
Precisely.
Earlier, late, or whatever. Yeah.
Precisely. So I literally, because their center has midwife, and they also have student midwives who also happen to be, I think most of them are all doula, right? So every time I go on my appointment, there's a midwife. There's a midwife to them who happens to be a doula also. So even them, I meet every single one of them, because she said, when you come here, we want to make sure they all know your name. You all know our name and faces. So I kind of like the fact that I already met 3 of them. There's one more left that I have to meet. So that day when I go there, they already all know me by name. They know my husband by name. And I know, like, okay, if I come there and I see Dominic, oh my God, hey, what's up, Dominic? It's not like, oh my God, who's that? Why are you taking my baby out? Like, why are you here? I don't have to like worry about that. So that was something that I really, I was so happy about, that I didn't have to like pull that information out of you. It just kind of comes naturally. And to me, it's kind of like, duh. Even me as a trainer, if I travel or I have something to do, I always say, listen, by the way, you guys know my husband is also a trainer. And would you like to, you have 2 options. I could give you homework, or I could have my husband train you when I'm not here. Whatever option you want, but at least you got to meet him before. You got to, who he is, you see him, all that kind of stuff. So I just really like the fact that I had that option so easily available to me. And I met all of them, and I love all of them. So I already know it doesn't matter who is there for me that day. I'm in great hands. I love the energy, and everything's gonna be great. Are you planning? Oh yes. Are you planning on having a natural birth, or would you use the epidural? The center, there's no epidural. So it's almost like en français, it's like, it's almost like homeopathic. They might have, they were gonna do stuff to help me with the pain, but there's no anesthesia. Yeah, which honestly, I don't want unless I really need it.
Even, I mean, I was in inactive labor for 7 days and in active labor for 36 hours. Wow. I had somewhat of an intense home birth, and still would go back to a home birth if I had to rewind the clock. Like, there's no other approach, or I would do a birthing center if that option was available in New York, and they had good quality birthing centers. But there was no point where I felt like I needed to have an epidural. Like, as difficult as it was, there was something inside of me, along with my amazing team, who kept me under good anesthesia naturally.
Yeah.
But there was no point where I felt like I needed to go to a hospital, despite how challenging it was. Yeah. But also how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
So
it's so great to hear that, because like whenever you hear some of the experience people, like the traumatic experience people went through in the hospital, they, you know, like the way to talk about it afterward is never the same. You know, here you are talking about you were in labor for this amount of days, and then you were in active labor for this amount of days, and then you know that if you were in the hospital, they would have cut you open already. So it's like you were still cared for. You know, you were still cared for, and you know everything just went and everything went great. Your baby's here, your baby's doing great. So I'm not gonna say I'm like the person who's gonna say go to the midwife, go to the midwife. But honestly, if you are pregnant now or thinking about being pregnant, I would say start looking into it. Start looking into it. And pregnancy is not a procedure like you going to the hospital to like get, I don't know, you name a procedure. It's not something like that. It's part of life. It's part of life, and it should not be treated like you go to the hospital like you're sick. Like, okay, it's a condition. Like, it shouldn't be treated like that. So definitely advise people to like start looking into that. Whether you're already pregnant, you have an OB. If your OB is treating you well and give you everything that you need, perfect, right? But just know, like, if you're feeling, one thing I learned is like go with your gut. No, this is one thing that you don't want to have a second. You don't want to be like, wait, I should have done this, I should have done that. This is your child, right? It's your health, it's your child's health. So you want to make sure that you make the decision that's best for you, however that look like, you know. But I just kind of feel like people downplayed midwife a lot. It's not really out there when they're doing so much. Midwife and doulas, they're doing so much to make sure that we are cared for. You know, they listen to you, especially, you know, as a Black person. You want to make sure that you have somebody really giving you what you need.
And it's all stages of labor. It's not just pre-labor and active labor, or excuse me, all stages of pregnancy, not just pre-labor and active labor, but also postpartum care is important too. Like that's, you know, the fourth trimester, as folks say, and thereafter, that is crucial for folks who just gave birth as well. And you need that care just as much as you need the care during labor. It's so critical. And oftentimes you don't get that care from hospitals as well. So I also want to let y'all know that after the baby care is so important as well.
Very, very, very important. From like making sure, you know, your pelvic floor, you got to take care of your pelvic floor. You got to check in within how you're feeling. Unfortunately, some of us maybe have more access to help than other people have access to help. But if you have a small village, we can help you. Definitely your pelvic floor. Do not don't listen to people tell you, oh, 3-month snapback, 1 year snapback. Your body needs 2 years. This is a trainer.
Oh, that's right.
2 years to go back to where it were, to adjust your strength. So like even after birth, like do not try to start trying to run a marathon. If you could do it, I guess after 2 months, power to you. But for everybody else, just make sure that 4th month is also very, very important, right? You can start as little as you're bleeding. You don't have to start like crazy, but that 4th month is very, 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 very nice. Let me see, my biggest worry is how we deal with the death or contraction labor. So from what with my lady, right, my midwife, she told me, so as soon as those start, we're going to call her, right? And then she's going to guide us, right? She's going to guide us with everything that she told me what she would do. Mommy brain, pregnancy brain, I forgot. But then she said once everything starts, we're going to call her and she's going to start guiding us until we get there. And one thing I learned also is like from like, you know, hospital, people sometimes tend to go to the hospital too early. And every time they come check you and put their hands, you know, in there, that's a risk of infection, right? And also if you get it too early, that's also a high risk of you getting cut, because they'll be like, okay, you've been there for like what, 24 hours, whatever that is. All right.
And they're ready to induce you.
You're ready to induce you. You got to go, So with a midwife from the phone, like, you know, as soon as it starts, you know, your water breaks or what that's going to look like, you call them and they're going to start guiding you and telling you what to do from now on. I don't know exactly what that is. I kind of forgot what she told me. But that's kind of like what I would expect. And those are the questions that you could literally ask your midwife.
Absolutely. Or your doula.
Or your doula. You can absolutely ask them those questions. It doesn't matter if you're in your 1st month or 2nd month, they should be able to give you an answer. Like, unlike mine, who was kind of like, oh, we're not there yet. Like, no, they should be able to give you an answer, because some of us need to know what's going to happen 3 or 4 months from now. Some of us don't need to know that. But if you do have a question about, like, I'm worrying about contraction, how does that feel, and what should I do? And the midwife is going to tell you, she should be able to give you an answer that's going to, like, satisfy you and have you, prepare at least emotionally.
Yeah. I
Until
mean, from my very first contraction, I called up my midwife and hit up my doula. My doula was at my house, and so my doula actually spent the night all throughout the whole process.
okay.
And just having someone physically there who was able to, again, because I didn't go to a birthing center, this was all in my home.
Mm-hmm.
So having somebody physically there to help me with exercises, helping me with all of the stages leading up, all of the stages through dilation up until active labor was so critical. Again, the care that you're not going to get in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It was so important. Like, it was invaluable to have folks literally by your side, in your ear, on speed dial. That care is, you can't compare it.
You can't compare it. You can't compare it. And then I feel like sometimes, like, we almost kind of feel like we don't need it, or we don't deserve it, or we shouldn't have it. Like the way, like the way it is around birthing right now is almost like, yeah, you're just supposed to go and do it, whatever. Like, you have a womb, just go push this baby out. But not knowing that is like, it takes a whole lot. So having that, and also you could just kind of like relax. There are people that will have your back. You could relax, and they kind of guide you, because also the kind of support that I'm getting from Oliver is not the same kind of support I'm going to get from a girlfriend, from my midwife, from my doula. It's totally different. Each person plays a part.
As a role, exactly.
Each person plays a part. Yeah, I have my mom, but I knew that I also need my midwife. I knew I needed that support from her too. So everyone is going to play a part. You might get a midwife, like, you did, like, who's more militant. You like, listen, she's going to make sure everything is going boom, boom, boom. But that love and pampering, my doula is going to be there. Or another supportive friend is going to be there, And then if you're in your home also, you also relax. You could play music. It's just like, it's not, the environment is not sterile. It's just like, and then the reason why I chose, like, the center of my home, because there's nothing in our home right now. We only have a gym outside. So this place is just like, it's not really like, I went to the center, and I want to be in the center because, it was colorful, it was joyful. Like, it was just like, oh, nice, I could be here. It's like a fancy yoga studio,
Yeah.
and outside they have a garden outside, and as you said, you could play music. We have a kitchen, so if your mom says she want to make you something, you could do all that. So the fact that you could just be comfortable, you can play music in the hospital.
So amazing.
Let
me paint the picture. I didn't have the luxury of a beautiful birthing center like Simone has. So I literally had to turn my apartment into a birthing center, right? So let me paint the picture of what you're not going to get in a hospital, in most traditional hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the playlist. I'm talking about somebody making me soups and smoothies. I'm talking about going up to do breath work and yoga on my roof. I'm talking about somebody blowing up the birthing pool and doing a trial run in my bedroom. I'm talking about meditations, also woven in with some ratchet music. I'm half ratchet, half zen. I'm talking about affirmation cards. I'm talking about going to take a shower or a bath and doing a journaling session when I get stressed. I'm talking about, me and my sister were playing chess in the middle of contractions. I'm talking about literally having an ecosystem of everything you need to be comfortable. Because again, this is not supposed to be a procedure. It's supposed to be an experience of you bringing life. And that doesn't mean that it's not challenging, but it means you have all of the tools at your disposal for you to be comfortable and knowledgeable about what's happening through every stage of the process. And you have a team of love helping you bring the baby earthside.
Exactly.
And that changes the experience for you and for the baby. And the less trauma there is, I believe the less trauma there will be for you when it's time to, for you to have the psychological, physical transition of being a new
Yeah.
mom and parent as a whole.
Yeah. And imagine also having your baby come in a place where they are familiar faces, right? Not
Exactly.
even a familiar faces, well, they're not familiar faces, like more familiar faces to you. People who actually love this child, like, your sister being there, right?
Yes,
Like right now, I
exactly.
know my husband's going to be there. My mom is going to be there. I have a friend or two who might be flying to be there. So for me to kind of like be coming out, like, okay, this is your aunt, this is your uncle, like having that right access to that right away. Not in some
Exactly.
crazy room where you don't know them, they don't know you. Like, there's no relationship there.
And oftentimes they snatch your baby right after, and
I know.
you
Do you
at
know
this
they
point
charge you
you
for
are
skin
not
to skin?
aware of.
They charge you for skin to skin contact. I like, wait, you took my and then you took my baby out for me to rest on my bosom on my chest. I gotta pay you for that.
It's bananas. It's bananas.
And the fact
And
that
then,
if you don't tell them right away, they're gonna cut the umbilical cord. They could show away your placenta.
yeah.
No, at a
And
birth center.
let's not talk about oftentimes they snip you to get the baby out of you, as opposed to your midwife who has taught you to be oiling your perineal and oiling you throughout as you dilate so that you don't tear. Hospitals uh almost encourage tearing, because guess what? It's more money when they sew you up.
That
That
just
is
make
more
me.
coins in their pockets.
Oh my god! That just
That
makes
is
me like,
coins
whew.
in their pockets. So again, all of these interventions are so intentional, and that's not every hospital. If you have a hospital where you feel loved and cared for, that does exist, but too often it doesn't exist, and that is why we are encouraging this. And I do want to also point out. Oh, my phone needs to be charged. I also want to point out the Black diaspora often, too often, turns their nose up to home births. And we've been conditioned. I remember when I first told certain family members, and they were just like, that's unsafe, ill, like all of these things that we've been conditioned to think is considered unsafe, when the irony is oftentimes it's the hospital that is
Exactly.
unsafe.
Yeah.
And so we have to like continue to share these experiences very in the most raw form, right? And also show that it's not a specific type of Black person that gives birth at home or in a birthing center.
That.
I think I was having a conversation with a friend that I recently met, a sister friend that I recently met, and we were just having a conversation like, yeah, it doesn't have to be the overly spiritual Black girl that gives birth at home. Like literally, we need to change that narrative that the regular, average Black chick can give birth at home, or think about these birthing alternatives. And I think that's important for us to have conversations about also.
Yeah. Someone said, "Oh, my cousin got a dip snip. It was so traumatizing." Of course, it was so
Oh,
traumatizing. Oh my
it's
god.
like you give birth and then you have to
I
deal
have
with
to go through
stitches.
that. Oh man, please send my love, because it's just I can't even imagine that. It's terrible. It's so
And it's
so
not
so.
to say that you're not going to tear. You might tear during a natural birth,
Of
but it's
course,
all about minimizing the chances
exactly,
of that happening.
exactly. That's what my midwife said. She said, "Listen, we transfer, but the point of you giving birth here is we're gonna make sure that we care for you and we do everything that's possible for this process to go as smoothly as possible. Our first thought is not to like cut you open, to take you to the hospital, have you there. No, it's not. That's not our first concern. Our first
Right.
concern is your well-being, your baby's well-being, and to make sure that you guys are both like well taken care of. If we need to transfer you, of course we're gonna transfer you. But it's just like it just and then to going back to what you said about it's not just a specific kind of people who need to give birth, and also the history of like how they used to see midwife, right? Oh my God, I wish Oliver was here to talk about that, right? They such a like dark history. It's kind of almost like you want to give birth, like midwife would see as some like dirty Black women. Like it would just kind of see like, do you want to give birth with a midwife? Look at how filthy, whatever. It was just always, everything that such was Black is always bad, is always
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just always so like, yeah, we were the one feeding their children, but that's another topic. It's just like it just they turn it into that they turn it into something so negative.
Yeah.
and then it became about profit, right? So now,
Absolutely.
like when my midwife said, well, if you give birth at home, there's more risk or danger for everyone involved. And I just said, do you know how many black women die in the hospital?
Absolutely.
If the hospital
Yep.
was so perfect, why do we have so many black women that, dying in the hospital? Why do we have that? No. And also, I'm not saying the hospital is going anywhere. I could transfer if I really need to. So just like I think these are so important. People need to understand, like, listen, you have this option. And also, if you decide to give her the hospital, your doula could be there with you. She knows you,
Yeah.
she knows your plan. And then if you say, oh, I'm not feeling well, and then nobody's listening, she can reiterate and say, Simone is
Absolutely.
not feeling well. You need
Yeah.
to listen to her and not just kind of like brush her off, whatever the case is.
Yep.
So, yeah, the famous, yeah, a famous obituary wife put out a negative narrative that the midwife was to blame for mortality rate. You know what? Who
Yeah.
has it? Like, this is such a bucket of BS.
Yes,
Like
it
I
is.
want to see the statistic about how many midwife, like they neglected their whatever the patient, their not their moms to the point where
Yeah.
the mortality rate went up.
No,
I want to
the
see that.
midwives aren't responsible for the negligence. It's
No.
absolutely the hospital. Oh, and also to add,
Oh, nice for you. What is that, mommy? Why vegan? I gave birth to four of my, to all
oh,
four with very minimal tearing things to my midwife.
I know that's right. I know
Amazing.
that's right. Come on,
Amazing.
testimonials. And also too, being able to keep my placenta in order to encapsulate it was important too. I know I've heard a lot of stories of women trying to keep their placentas in the hospital, and hospitals being very forceful to make sure that they don't keep their placenta intact in order for encapsulation. So my midwife, it was part of the services to encapsulate my placenta.
Yeah.
And I know that's important for certain folks. And again, that's another fight that you may have to have right after giving birth, to your placenta, is to keep it if you
Exactly.
want to encapsulate it or do whatever you want with it. Some people make art, some people keep the whole thing and fry it up and eat it. I'm not that gangster, but yeah, that's another
You
thing
have
that
that
folks
option.
have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right, they have that option.
Mommy What Vegan, please, if you can, maybe send me a DM later with your state and the midwife that you use. I could share that information also for maybe somebody else who's in your state who might be looking to a midwife. I think it's so important to hear these stories, to kind of like hear, like, listen, like I said, like my midwife said, her first baby, she had a cesarean, a C-section,
Mm-hmm.
but her last three kids, they were all home birth. So even if your first child was a C-section, you're not just stuck there, right? You could definitely change path again. So please, if you like your OB, you like your midwife, you had a great experience, whatever your experience was, please, like, if you could DM us those names, I get to share it because people are all in different states, and then sometimes people ask me, and I'm like, I don't have any person, I don't know anybody else beside New York and California. I was just watching some documentary about the Grammy. Yes, that's one I watched it a little bit with my husband. It's so crazy how they make
What
it.
documentary?
Yeah, there's a documentary. I think there's part one and part two. I'm gonna find it. I'm
Okay.
gonna send it to you. It's about, like, the whole. That's if I'm talking about the same documentary she's talking about. But
Is it the Ricky Lake one? The business of giving birth? Ricky Lake?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
Where
I think
where she
so.
literally just talks about how the industrial hospital complex and how it's literally a business.
Yeah. It's so weird
um,
how the Western world is so self-centered. There are people in the world being born and no near hospital and are very healthy. Exactly, because it's all about money. It's all about money, and then we all know, like, if and it's all about money and where you are in society, right? How rich you are. Because also it almost kind of feel like in the U.S., if you're poor, don't have children. Like, basically don't, because the hospital gonna charge you. You're charging 60 grand if you have a C-section. What, 60 grand if you don't have insurance? Or even if you do, you still gotta pay 20 or 30% of that. Like, it's so elite. It's so
yeah,
elite.
yeah,
It's just. But yeah, people are born in every other countries, and then the babies are fine. Shoot, people were born in Africa in the hospital. That's why they stole them and brought them here. So it's like people are born everywhere without hospital, and they're really, really doing well. But like, you know, like the world here make it seem like it's only the hospital that has the best thing. The only hospital could just do this. You know, it's like if you want to go to the hospital, you could go to the hospital. But if you want a different route, this is a different route. It's out there for you. And we're gonna keep pushing so people know they have this option. And knowing that, like, listen, you don't have to go there, like, because first of all, I am not a strong black woman. I want to be cared for. I want to be cared for. I want to be pampered. And I like that I'm in California and I didn't have to deal with New York winter. But I honestly wish I was in New York because I had so many friends and family who were willing to do things for me. Like, you make me this, you make me that. Just pamper me, help me take a bath. Like, I want all that love and tenderness, you know? You don't have to go, like, birth shouldn't be done alone. Like, you should not go through pregnancy. And I truly hope that, like I don't know, I truly hope more and more people have that kind of support, because it's not, you need that love, you know, like you need the same way they're gonna love your baby, you also need that love and care for, you know. And I found that with my midwife, and I don't even think I'm gonna need a doula, because it was just so strict with my OB, and then boom, then I have this midwife. I'm like, I don't even think I need a doula, to be honest. It doesn't seem like, yeah, it doesn't seem like I'm gonna need one, because this lady, all the 4 midwives, the 3 ones that I met already, they're just so full of love. So full of love.
Doula packaged into one.
Yeah, a whole package deal. And then also they come like I say, in each appointment, there's a student midwife there. And then all the student midwife all happen to be doulas anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm getting that. I'm already getting that, you know. So I literally right now, people ask me, I say, honestly, I don't think I'm gonna need a doula, because right now I feel so fulfilled. I feel like I've been given what I need and what I want. So how does using the midwife calculate insurance? Okay, so my first of all, their overall cost with the center is cheaper than the overall cost of the hospital. That's one. And then my insurance, some insurance are gonna cover the midwife as a in network, and I think some insurance might cover it as at network. So however that works out, and I think my insurance is doing one of the two. So basically, gonna make you pay 20%, and then they pay the rest. So all you gotta do is, like, you know, because midwives are a medical practitioner, right? They're not just like, you know, they have medical practitioner, and some midwife might take your insurance directly, some might not. They might just charge you to pay, but then they're gonna give you a nice bill with all the details that you submit to your insurance, and your insurance is gonna pay that. So that's one thing I will say. Definitely call your insurance. If you're thinking about that, you could call your insurance and ask them, like, you know, how does that work with the midwife? Doula not cover, but like midwife, definitely. Just call them and ask them, okay, I'm thinking about going to a birth center. How does that work? And to me, it's like insurance should be happy, because it's less money for them. Like, the hospital's gonna charge them 20, 30 grand. A midwife is gonna be on average between 6 to 8 grand. That's like half of the cost. So definitely call your insurance, and they will tell you, you know what, okay, we might not take insurance, but just have them send us a bill, like, you know, I think they have like bills with like specific codes, and then your insurance would pay you back. But midwifery care is definitely cheaper than the hospital, right? And for me also, every time I start buying vitamins, because they supply all that for me. They supply all that for me. I was so happy. That's so good. They put me on better. She had like a better multivitamin birth prenatal. So she chose that. I was taking some iron pills that were making me very, very, very constipated. She chose it, and she gave me another one, some blood builder. Right. So she saved me a couple of $100 right there, because we know those prenatals and vitamins could be very expensive, and you need them monthly, right? The only thing that I had to pay out of pocket right now were like calcium and what else did I pay? And some probiotics that I'm taking. But every other thing else, they provide that for me, so which is really, really great, right? It's kind of like, I don't know if it's supposed to be included in that package, but no hospital ever gave me prenatal. They just kind of like, oh yeah, take a prenatal. I wasn't even given an option as in this was better, I like this one. No, there was none of that. So yeah, I would say call your insurance. And so far, I realized that the midwifery care is cheaper than the hospital. But like Oliver said, I guess California might be a little bit more on the higher side, because, you know, the cost of living is a little bit higher here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the baby yet? No. You
Oh.
still no.
Oh,
Baby is still in there. I am 31 weeks. I am 31
oh,
weeks, yeah.
I
But
got a
Dominic already
question.
gave birth.
I did 9 months ago. I got a question from a friend not too long ago, and she was afraid to ask, like, "Oh my God, is this a dumb question about birth certificate?" And the answer was, or the question was rather like, "What happens after you give birth with a midwifery? Like, do you have to go back to the hospital for a birth certificate?" No, y'all. These are professional practitioners. They weigh your baby. They do um all of the post pregnancy stuff while you're there. So for me, I was laying in bed, hydrating, and they weighed the baby, measured the baby, did all of the tests they were supposed to do. And they take care of your birth certificate. So you don't have to reconnect with the hospital
No.
before getting a birth certificate. There's a paternal certificate that Tim had to sign because we're not married yet. Like all of that, the legal paperwork is handled and taken care of, as well as the tests that need to take place right after the baby is born, as well as tests that need to take place 3 days or a week after the baby is born. So all of that is provided in the package of your midwifery care. So
Exactly,
just wanted to
exactly.
point that out. It's not like Joe Schmo delivers the baby and then all the legal stuff you got to handle on your own. It should be part of the package.
Okay. And all of us say they can also stitch you up necessary if I provide vitamin K. Yes. Our center, like, if you tear a little bit, they could, oh, that's right. They have, I think they have, they say they're up to like 4 or 5 level of tearing. So there's level one, level two, level three. I think the midwifery care could do that. The midwife could do that. And I think this one is like 4 and 5, which is like very, very like,
Very
oh
intense.
my God, that's when you have to go to the hospital. So if you
Yeah.
do tear, the midwife could do that and also
Yeah, they
provide
should
you
be
with the
able
vitamin
to.
K shot for the baby. Yes, that's one thing I forgot. And then also the midwife, they also help you after birth. They give you, they help you take a bath. They make sure
Yep.
your bleeding stop. They make sure
Yep.
you can pee properly.
They
Like
make
they
sure you can pee. Yep. All of that.
exactly.
All
So
of that.
they give you all that. You don't leave the center until they're happy.
Yeah.
Until they're happy with you and then happy with the baby, then you leave the center, right?
Yeah.
And for the midwife, if they come home to you, they bring all those stuff. They're gonna bring like you don't have to buy a tub yourself if you don't want to. They could bring like a tub of water and then kind of like do it, like they do all that stuff. But if you're over there, there's already a tub that's already built in the suite, so you don't have to do all that. So do they provide more care than the hospital? Okay, so how do I answer this question?
Wait,
Um,
what was the question to me?
do they provide more care than the hospital? I want to,
Midwife.
the midwife, yeah. So okay, how do I say that? I'm going to say yes in terms of like taking care of me emotionally, spiritually, loving wise. I'm going to say yes, obviously, right? But of course, if you need a C-section, they cannot do that. They have to transfer you. But in terms of like the overall package, I honestly 100% think that a midwife will provide you with way more care than the hospital. Because to me, it's like we talked about at the beginning, giving birth is not just like gonna go there, they put you on your back and you push the baby, right? It's a whole experience. Like if you are home or if you're in the center, they let you play your music. You could hydrate, you could have food, you could move around, you could dance, you could do all. You have like so much freedom, and from like your visit until the day off, the kind of care they give you. My appointments right now they last a full hour at least. But with OB, it was like 10, 15 minutes, right? So I guess it all depends on like, I guess what does care look like to you?
Yeah.
But yes, Kwame, yeah, it's more personal. And like it's
Yeah.
more like it's like when you go to a one-on-one training session, it's tailored to you. It's different than a group session, so it's really more, yeah, definitely personalized and specific to your needs. So if you tell your midwife, I like this, I like that, she's definitely going to give you all of that.
Yeah.
So
And I could speak a little bit to the care during my labor.
mhm.
I actually needed an IV at home, so they were able to set me up with an IV. they were able to move Sage naturally by doing certain exercises, certain movements. I did some natural induction concoctions and pumping to help naturally induce Sage because he was late. I had a pinched nerve throughout my whole active labor, so they were able to help me with that as naturally as they could. My placenta got stuck. They were able to get my placenta cord broke, and they were able to get my placenta out safely. And I was still able to use my placenta for encapsulation. I had the water birth. They were able to, my midwife literally greased my perineal and vagina area so that my 9-pound baby did not tear my vaginal area. So she was really intentional about making sure I did not tear as a first-time mom. I actually fainted twice during, like, when I was coming back from the bathroom to pee. I fainted twice out of pure exhaustion. As I said, I was in labor for 7 days. And so they took care of me there in my home. There was care for an extended period of time during pre-labor and active labor that I feel like I would not have gotten in a hospital. And I was my midwife, and also she had 3 assistants who were constantly checking my blood pressure, constantly checking on me, constantly making sure that everything looked up to par and there was no emergency, that I didn't have to go to the hospital, even with the things that were happening during labor. So the care was definitely A1 throughout the whole process.
Yeah. And then, like you said in the beginning, maybe people missed that. From your experience, like being in labor for like 7 days, do you think, I know you mentioned in the beginning, but for those who just joined, do you think had you been in the hospital, they could have done the same thing and have you give birth?
Oh no, I would have been induced a long time ago. Hospitals typically don't wait 2 weeks past your due date to get, they would have tried to induce me after 1 week at the very most.
Yeah.
And knowing that I literally had contractions for 7 days. So that alone means you need a lot of care from your professional team as well as your familial team, right?
Yeah.
And so I had the care and the communication that was needed to sustain me up until I was dilated enough for active labor. So yeah, it was a marathon, and folks have to understand that the labor experience is a marathon, especially for first time
moms,
folks. Yeah, it's usually a little longer for first time folks. But being able to have care throughout the entire marathon, physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, is super critical if you're here.
Take this question, since you've done it already. What does using placenta for encapsulation mean?
Okay, so in my research, and again, you'll do research and folks will say that there's not definitive knowledge of this, but it helps bring iron back in your body, especially if you're planning on breastfeeding. It helps bring nutrients and minerals back in your body. It's supposed to help with postpartum depression if you were to experience that. So it's supposed to help you physically, but also psychologically, to have you be the best version of yourself, but also physically for the milk that you're supplying to the baby. So, I hear him crying. Yeah.
Let's take this one more question. I know you got to go take care of baby. I joined a little late. Are you discussing midwife care? So so she gave birth with a midwife at home, and I'm going to do that at a birthing center, only because my home right now is not very, it doesn't look like the birthing center. The birthing center looks way more welcoming. It's just like, it's baby proof. It's just like a nice, awesome yoga. You just feel like, would you want to meditate as soon as you walk in there? So that's why I chose the center. It's not too far from me. And the hospital also, if I really need to be transferred, the hospital is not too far from there. But I do have the option, I haven't gave birth yet. So I have the options for them to come to me if I wanted to switch that option. So honestly, the only difference between birth center and home birth is just like the birth center, you go to a birth center, like you will go to a hospital, and they have everything there already. You know, they have your bathtub, they basically they have everything in there. But now if you have it at home, then you might need to, like, I don't know, buy some stuff, some supply, etc., etc. They have to come to you. There goes the little man. So that's the only difference for us. Hi, Sage. So yeah, that's the only difference for me right now. And if you were to do a home center, your midwife, depending how long you met, like, you know, how far your pregnancy you met her, they will start coming into your house to kind of figure out where you live exactly, how long does it take them to get there, how's the water situation, how's the traffic, how's the parking situation, because they have to assess all of that, right? Yeah. So like, let's say you start having contraction. Okay, am I living in 2 minutes or am I living in 1 hour? Because one thing that they say also, you don't want to, like, if you go to a hospital, you don't want to go too early, right? Because when you go too early, they start clocking you already, as in you got here too early or stuff like that. So to me, there's no at home as much as you can. So yeah, to me, there's not much difference between the two. The only thing is, like, if your home is already welcoming, then yeah, it's fine. Like I said, my home is like it's just like plain. I don't even have a tub, so it will be and I like it over there. It's very colorful. They have a garden, so if I already have another kid, that kid could come also. Like, my mom is gonna be there. I have 1 or 2 friends who might fly in. And if they want to be there, they don't have to be in a room necessarily, but it's a big house. So they could be there, they could be inside, they could be outside, they could be in the kitchen making me soup. Like, that's the difference that I see for between the two. Yeah. Any other questions?
Really quick, a big difference is we had to do a dry run when we're setting up the birthing pool. So making sure it's inflated, making sure the water from your faucet or your shower can easily connect and be the right temperature. So yeah, and we ended up having to get a different birthing pool than we originally got. So the dry run was so necessary to make sure that all of that was set up and functional weeks before it's time for you to give birth.
Yes, they do that. They don't just come the day off. Like, they're gonna come before and do that try and kind of like see. Yeah, if you need a hose, they're gonna feel like how long this hose needs to be. Yeah. Like, basically have to check all of that. Like I said, they check up to the traffic. Yeah. Like, how long does it take me to get there? Do I need to, like, because another thing also, so my midwife, she works alongside a chiropractor, right? Mm-hmm. And then because the chiropractor is very familiar with your body, especially if, like, familiar with your hips and everything, they could see how, because as you get pregnant, further in your pregnancy, your hips are shifting and shifting and shifting, for the baby to come out. So basically, the chiropractor could also give you, like, oh wow, your hips are very out right now. You should be giving birth within a day or so, right? So I've never worked with a chiropractor. I've never been one. I never really believed in it to begin with. But like, with this experience now, I'm more familiar with, like, what some chiropractor do. Like, the one that I have is mostly, like, 90% of its practice is mostly pregnant women. Like, every time I go, there's always one coming in, one going out, one already has a child, is still pregnant, stuff like that. So your chiropractor could also help you adjust your hips, which is one thing sometimes, like, because of, like, our lifestyle, your hips may or may not be moving the way it's supposed to. And with a chiropractor, it can help you adjust your hips, and then you can have your vaginal birth, right? If your hips are not moving the way they're supposed to, the doctor might be like, well, this baby's not coming out. We're gonna cut your stomach open and take the baby out. So that's another reason why I like the midwifery care, because they're using all those different natural stuff to make sure the C-section is like the last resort, because it is not a walk in the park. Having to cut somebody, I am so against it. Like, do it. I know I was very shocked when a woman told me that she scheduled hers. Like, she just scheduled. I think maybe her first birth was so traumatic that she said, you know what, just put me on there, cut me open, and take the baby out.
That's exactly what my aunt did.
And I was just like,
scheduled hers.
Yeah,
and I said, that reason.
Wow.
But your birthing center sounds amazing. I'm gonna have to take a flight to LA.
I know. No, this birthing, I will send you.
Like, they have a beautiful ecosystem going on over there.
Yeah, they have a whole kitchen. Like each
I
room
know
is like a
that's right.
suite. It has its own bathroom. It has its own tub. They have thermometer to make sure the water is good. And they have like
Yes.
two big living spaces where they either have classes or they kind of like big room, like two big living rooms. So even if you were to have like another mom giving birth there, we're not going to be in the same room, right? I think they have like 3 suites, which are all, like I
Mm-hmm.
say, bathroom, a tub, and everything. So if there's another mom giving birth there, maybe we might hear each other because we are both loud, but we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be in the same space. And if they come with their family, like I said, they even have a garden, so people can step outside.
I
They
know
can be in
that's
the
right.
garden. So like that's what I chose it because it's very much like is ready. It's
Again, I can't emphasize how special it is to like have that freedom and flexibility to go to a garden and have somebody make you a smoothie and like lay down in a beautiful space, a warm and inviting space right after
and a
you give
nice
birth.
bed.
And a
Not a little
nice
twin.
bed and not deal and not right. I don't even know. Is that even a twin in the doctor's
I have
office?
no
I
idea
don't
what
know.
it is.
It's half a twin.
Like if you turn a little bit, you might end up on the floor.
Exactly, exactly. It's
And I'm
like,
so I do not want to give birth lying down on my back.
yeah,
I need gravity to kind of help me out. You know, I don't
yeah.
want to be lying down my back. It's like, no, 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 no. I want to be squeezing the life out of Oliver while squatting and pushing that baby out. Yes, I'm gonna send you the info, Ara. Yeah, so I don't want to be giving birth on my back. I don't want to do all
Yeah.
that. Like I want to give
And
birth.
water,
It's
the
just like
water helps so much. The
and you would
water
think that they will have it in the
literally
hospital.
helps.
How come they don't have it in the hospital?
The water was amazing.
Yeah. Um. Yes, I'm gonna send you the info for the birth center, the birthing center.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, same
LA has
pulling,
a lot of
stand or
birthing
squat.
centers.
Yeah, because you want gravity to help you out. What is lying down on your back has to do with anything? Who asked my age? Yes, I'm 31 years old. It's gonna be my first baby. I gave birth in the water too. Nice, 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 nice. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm 30. I'm 31 weeks. I'm not 31 years old. I think 31. Yeah, I'm 31 weeks. I'm due more or less in 8 weeks. My due date is May 13. I'm hoping the baby will come either May
Okay.
1st or May 10. May 10 is Oliver's birthday. May 1st, I already have 2 cousins who are born on that day, so let's just add it.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, you're right. Most animals stand. I don't know. I don't know. You know what? There's a story about why women started giving birth on their back. I think there was some king somewhere in England who wanted to see a baby come out, and of course, this guy made the woman lie down her back so you could see, and that's how it. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's the
No
story.
way. No way. That's crazy.
Oh, May babies. There you go. May 1st, May 30th. Good, good, good. So yeah, my husband's birthday is May 10th. And so I'm like, yeah, I
I
want a
think
baby.
Sage was due May 24th.
May 24th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
He was
Nice,
supposed to
nice. Oh
be
my
due
God, thank you
then.
so much for doing this with me and everybody who's been watching us. And I'm gonna save the
Yeah.
video unless IJ does me wrong.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it won't be I won't be on your back to make it easier for the daughter to love the baby. I don't think. Oliver, can you retype that again? I'm not sure what it really means, but um, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's so plausible about some king. Yeah, I think so because I think I saw a little bit of that before, like the reason why women started giving birth on their back. It doesn't make any sense if you go in nature. Like I said, nobody's lying down. All animals are standing
Mm-hmm.
because you want also gravity to help you out, you know. So I don't know. I think that's the story. But like I said, don't quote me on it. I'm gonna look into it and share it just to confirm. But yeah, so I want to make sure I could play music. I realize like right now when I play a lot of Michael Jackson, I hear more kicks, I feel more movement. So I'm like, I want to play music that my baby's already familiar with. And if I'm hungry, I could get food. And the whole thing about not feeding, not giving you food because they're prepping you for surgery, it baffles me. You're getting ready for like the most bigger exam in your life. You're not gonna have any nourishment.
I don't understand. I don't. It really makes it so ass backwards.
Oh yeah, all of us say, oh, the only reason women give birth on their back is to make it easier for the doctor.
Oh yeah,
Is it
yeah.
supposed to be easier for the person giving birth?
Yeah. Nah, they don't. They're not
Sacrilege.
worried about us. They don't
This is crazy.
care. They are not thinking about us.
Yeah, you're right. Women's health is so dominant by men's exploration. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, seriously, definitely do your research about this. I have been sharing my journey on YouTube because another time also like I told Dominic like I really hope she's gonna like detail it also because a lot of times like people just come and say, oh, I gave birth at home and it was a great experience, right? So we decide that we're gonna document it how we even I haven't even gave birth, so you can see the whole journey. You're not gonna just see my end product, right?
Yeah.
And there are so many people who need to hear it. So like we need more and more people to share their journeys and kind of like share what got them from that to that, so you can kind of like make your own education decision about what you want to do. So Oliver and I have been sharing, and then we started with Obi. So if you went to our YouTube channel, you're gonna see, oh yeah, she went to a doctor visit, and then a couple of episodes down the line, she switched to like midwife, and you kind of like get to see in more detail why I decided to switch and how it's been going. And honestly, the goal for this is kind of give you the tool to make the decision for yourself and also understand that you deserve better care, right? This is not supposed to be a traumatizing experiment. It's not supposed to be. So there are people out there who are going to give you exactly what you need. And you just have to find them. For me, it was a midwife. Like it was not going to be a hospital where no, like I just look like a number, you know. I really needed that extra care. So there are many people like out there who are going to give you the care that you need. And
Yeah.
one of my friends say, do not be afraid to switch care. Whether it's your midwife, your doula, or your OB, don't be afraid to switch care because I kind of felt a little guilty about it. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, do I have to like not have to break up with my OB? Like, you know, what if I want to go back to her again for a pap smear or whatever, something like that? Like I was feeling a little bit guilty. My friend said, no, do not feel guilty. It's your body. You go where you want. Like you don't have to feel
And it
guilty
could
about it.
be virtually at any stage of your pregnancy.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't matter how like you know you could switch care because another thing, right? You could be seeing your OB and then on the birth, it's not even the person who's gonna deliver your baby. Then what happened then? It's gonna be some
Yeah.
completely new doctor that you never met who's gonna be out there taking your baby out. So all this time you could have switched care if you wanted to. So these are
Yeah.
kind of like little things to kind of like think about here. And don't be afraid to tell your mom or your sister that they can. Um, and don't be afraid to tell your mother. Or your, that's true. Whoever I learned that from
No,
my
we didn't
midwife
even get into
also.
that, but yes.
I think that's another reason why also she want to make sure that Oliver is also doing well. I'm the one who's going to be there because yeah, just because it's your mom or your sister or your cousin doesn't mean that they have to be there. Maybe they stress you out.
Yes,
Maybe they
both my
stress you
parents
out.
were not there. Both of my parents were not there. It's
Yeah, if
important
you
to have the least amount of stress as possible during this process.
exactly like Oliver said, midwife and doulas are the healthcare advocates for women birth inside or outside the hospital. Yeah. So if you feel like your doula is going to do a better job than your mom, please, if you can afford it or even have friends come together and make that little package for you to be able to afford a doula, definitely do it. Definitely do it. You're right. Don't be afraid to tell your mom she can't be there. Because if you feel like your mom is going to stress you out, you don't need your mom in that room. If you think that your cousin, your really good friend will want to be there, but they're going to stress you out, no, they don't have to be in the room. They don't.
Yeah,
They don't have to
not
be
a
in the room.
room.
Anyway, anything else you want to add, Dominique, before I give you back
Um,
to
I
the
would
baby
just
stage?
say, if I know, right? I would just say if you are specifically located in New York or California, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We want to be a resource to
Yes.
help folks make a decision about alternative birthing care. So yeah, we need to continue to make this information circular, especially for Black folks. So that's all. I
I say
mean, we want
yeah.
to be a resource for y'all.
Thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
giving me your time. Thanks for
Of
everyone for watching.
course.
I like if you go on my bio, you're gonna see our YouTube there. So if you want to see the different steps or how I got from where I was to like here, and it kind of like keep following my journey. And again, like I said, I'm 31 weeks, so I haven't gave birth yet. So if you want to keep following my journey and see how everything is going, and then until I give birth, you can find us more detailed video on YouTube. Thank you for spending time with us. I hope this was like this kind of gave brought somebody some joy and maybe realize that they could also have the care that they need. Yeah, that's it. Happy Sunday, y'all.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna save this. Like I said, hopefully IJ won't do me wrong, but I'm gonna save it now. And then people could watch it later. And we could share it, you could share it with friends and they could watch it whenever. But yeah, thank you so much for spending time with us, guys. I really, really, really appreciate your time. Thanks for the love. And yeah, any questions? Slide in my DM. Slide in my DM.
Slide in the DM. Slide in the DM.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.